Okay.
Got
Okay.
it.
Good. So we're good. So now we are starting our meeting, our cannabis task force meeting at 6:37. And the two chairs, Miriam and Monique, the two M's are on.
Eminem.
And we're hoping that the M square, and I'm hoping, and Madison is here hanging out with us for a little bit. And I'm hoping whoever is on will introduce themselves as well. And the expectation is that more people will join us. So, oh, there you
Is
go.
that Carlton?
That's our
Yes.
buddy Carlton. How are you, Carlton?
I'm coming along.
Yeah, you're getting ready for your event next week, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I volunteered today.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm free. It's I should be here. It's the second. Yeah.
I said earlier to Madison Carlton, I'm sorry, I can't be there. I have to go to my office. We have a training, or else I would have come by to even by just to lend support, moral support. So I'm sorry for that, but I hope that I can be at the next event that you guys are doing. So I wanted you to know that. All right. Yeah, Miriam, in terms of the event, and I know Carlton, you didn't get to join us, but we had a great event, if I must say so myself. We had a good turnout considering that it was a Tuesday. So that's the first thing. And the time of day was during work hours, but people who are, I guess, are self-employed got to join us, which is great. So I was very pleased by that. I was so happy that Happy Monkey was able to support those outreach efforts to get people through the door. So we were very lucky that they were able to do that. And
I'm really happy in the end that I'm glad that they took our we chose happy, no pun intended, but I'm glad in the end that we fought for the event that we fought for, and that it was in that location. I really think it was an educational event. And if it had been outdoors and how they had originally wanted it to, I don't think it would have been as good.
I agree.
In my opinion, I think being indoors at the forum gave it a lot of clout. It was reputable as educational, and I think it was good.
I do too. And at 7, the people from CUNY, Deborah and her team, are going to be jumping on and sharing the results from the survey that was taken. And I will say that Vanessa shared with us, and she's one of the Happy Monkey team members, that about 150 people came that day, which seems about right.
Yeah.
So, like, once again, it was a good turnout considering it was a quick turnaround. The survey, and I know they're doing their own survey, but the survey that we got help with from CUNY, we didn't get as many people to respond, which, I think like 17 people responded, and the feedback from it was positive, of course. And I think that, once again, it's our first time doing that event and figuring out logistics. We probably could have gotten more people to respond if we had more QR codes all over the place, plastered. So it's something to learn from, and we'll do that the next.
We didn't have someone really manning our table, pushing for it. Had we had more manpower at the table all the time, dedicated outreaching for it, I think we would have gotten more people.
I agree with you as well. You're right, because when we were there and we asked people to do the survey, they did. So that's also something to learn. And, hopefully we can get more people involved with us at the next event, demand it, so that we are able to gather data.
We need more volunteers.
Yeah, exactly. Most definitely. But that was a good start to gather information. I'm very happy for that. And once again, it was a successful event.
I think so too.
And I look forward to us doing another event. I wanted to, and I mean, I could share some of the results, or should we wait for
you might as well wait. I mean,
we can
It's
wait.
just the three of us for now. We can keep going down the agenda just so that we're not here.
Yeah.
We're
So
not
let me-
here too late.
So okay, so first of all, I did share the minutes that we took last time, which were quite robust. We had a
Yeah,
quite,
I'm gonna go lighter on the minutes. Because
okay.
we don't need to be so, so much.
Well, once again, there's no one from our task force, so if once again, except Carlton. So if Carlton, if something comes to mind in terms of edits in the minutes, let us know and we'll make reference to that again. I would like to I would love to discuss the regulations that we got from CB9.
Mm.
I mean, I went through them again, and I thought that they had a great document. So this is the next thing on the agenda, and I could certainly pull it up, but I think the last page, hold on, where is it? Okay, I think the last page is where the regulations are for sure. So this was 5 pages, and the first part was, I guess, them actually, I think the first part of this is them talking about why they decided to move forward
Mhm.
with creating the guidelines. So some language as it relates to creating a resolution, which I thought was great. And then we get to the guidelines themselves, which were pretty straightforward. And I thought that they were quite applicable to any community board. And I didn't see any reason why we could not adopt them and change out the community
The
board
names.
5 and just put ours in, because
I agree.
I thought they did an excellent job going through it and addressing all the possible challenges and such. And they even created this matrix, which is like a cheat sheet, where I guess
Mhm.
if people are coming before the committee, these are things in terms of issues,
Consider.
yeah, to consider. And then they have a rating in
Yep.
terms of how to address them. So I think they get such a great job. And once again, I don't know if anybody else had a chance
I
to,
did. I looked at them
yeah, and
and I agree. I think we have to do this. This is part of our community board must-dos. I mean, part of the reason we shared it at executive was to hear from the other committees. I know that the health committee is really pushing for the wellness aspect,
yeah,
and the environmental is of great concern for us.
yeah,
So, we have to, I don't know what is realistic. We have to look at a map, I think, in our neighborhood and really think, what areas are we talking about and what could be different than that, because I think those are quite good.
yeah, no, I agree. I mean, we're not, well, yeah, like you said, we have to map it out to see how those guidelines impact our areas in terms of schools and and such. So make sure that these locations that could be considered are maybe or not considered, but look at what we deem may be the best location, so that when people come to us, we're in a position to
Exactly.
be armed and say, yes, this makes sense, or no, that isn't going to work. So there you go.
We have
And
a hand raise,
oh yeah,
Maria Romero, and I believe we have more people on. We might
oh yeah,
want to. We
I see.
have Ken, Stella.
Yeah, Ken.
Hey, Miriam. Hey, Monique.
Hey,
Hello.
okay, Maria, go ahead, please.
Hi, I'm sorry. I'm new to this and I was just told to join this
Oh,
this
you were
Zoom
told
meeting.
to
Welcome.
join? Well, welcome.
No,
Welcome.
because I have a concern. I'm a resident here in Morningside Heights, and there's I want to say a smoke shop, or I'm sorry if I'm naive to this, because I don't do any of that
Mhm.
CBD or cannabis or marijuana, whatever it is. So I don't know what the difference is. My point that I'm trying to get across is, you were just talking about locations, right? So what are the, I guess, restrictions, or are there laws or rules or regulations of placing a cannabis shop close to a school.
So
Can you guys
that,
answer that for me? Sorry.
so that is what we're discussing. So just so you understand, there's only 3 legal dispensaries in all New York City right now. Those hookah, vape, smoke shops are all illegal. The city is aware of them. There's over 500 of them in Manhattan. Thank you for pointing it out. The city is aware, the borough president's is aware, the councilman's aware, everyone's aware of
Governor's
this.
aware.
The governor, it's been very tricky because the way New York State passed is through the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, and they do not want to start recriminalizing again on cannabis and marijuana. So they haven't just gone in and arrested a lot of these people. They have, and if it is near a school, they are going after them first. So you should report this to your, I mean, we'll definitely pass it on, but just so you know, the way it's being taken care of is like a task force with the sheriff, and they're going after the landlords who rent to these places. That's kind of how it's going. And just so you know, our task force isn't just, we're not about like coming here to just complain, and we're not the complaint department per se. You're welcome to call whoever it is, 311-911, and just file a complaint directly so it's documented. I think that would actually be the best way to go about it, because that's not really what the task force does, but we will note it and
Yeah.
it will be on record. But so you understand where we are in the regulations, I think it was about 2 months ago, the Office of Cannabis Management issued the first draft of regulations. So what we're living right now is the wild, wild west, because the DA doesn't have any regulations issued by the state to prosecute on these violators. We gave feedback as a community board on all of that, and everyone's reviewing them, but a comment that we're stating is this industry is being built while after everyone jumped out of the plane. So that is why you're seeing this proliferation of illegal or illicit smoke shops. Excuse me, sorry. These illicit smoke shops that are not paying taxes. So this is a big problem because it's not helping the legal industry. And on top of that, they're not really following what the proposed regulations would be, that you cannot be near a school, a house of worship. There's certain the amount of footage, they're kind of basing them on the state liquor license authority for bars, that same kind of standard. We absolutely want input from the community, what you think it should be for cannabis. We are, what we were just discussing, and it's very on time, just so what you understand what Monique had up on the screen, if you want to pull it up again. We have been working as a task force with other Manhattan community boards. We have been in communications because we feel that as a borough, we will be much stronger if we issue similar resolutions or letters of support or letters or advisory letters to the Office of Cannabis Management and the City of New York at this point of how the cannabis industry should operate. Because again, it's being based on alcohol. And now that everyone is experiencing this, just too much cannabis, and I say this as a consumer and as a medical marijuana patient, I think the spicy extraness in which New Yorkers tend to be have taken cannabis over the top, and it is the Wild West, and there is a lot of abuse and misuse, and a lot of bad neighbor behavior going on of people smoking absolutely everywhere, and the secondhand smoke being just everywhere. So we want your feedback. This document is just a generic document that community board 5 put together.
Yeah.
And they have a state liquor license and application and permits committee who put this together. It's quite thorough. We are looking to pass one for Community Board 9. Everywhere you see it say Community Board 5, it would say Community Board 9, because we feel, again, we're stronger in numbers. The more community boards pass this, the more this will likely become state law of how these businesses will operate. Community boards do have a say in retail locations. That is the license type that we will be weighing in. So this matrix you're seeing here, this is something else that we would give to applicants that come to us, because eventually the legal ones will, to kind of give them, how they've been operating. Are they good neighbors? And we look to your feedback because maybe this is something that is given to these illegal shops so that they're aware that the community boards know what's going on, and we can't stop them, but can you try to act better? Like, we're a task force. We are completely open to suggestions of how we can address this. There is a security issue here. We don't know who these people are operating this. There's a level of illicit, you don't want to put yourself in harm's way. So I don't recommend you go in there and say, look, I'm on the community board, or I spoke with them, behave this way. Like,
Right.
we have to be careful. So we have to be intentional, thoughtful, and act as good neighbors. At the end of the day, no one's against someone trying to make money, and these guys are trying to make money, but there's a way to do this and a way not to do this. So we're open. The city is looking for suggestions. I know the borough president. I mean, this is a real headache for the state and for the legal industry. So, we welcome feedback of how we can better do this, because clearly it's not being done right.
Right. So,
Sorry for that long explanation, but I don't know how to truncate the mess that this cannabis rollout has become.
Yeah, I see still, Maria made a comment, in terms of our kids paying for this. So Maria, I see your comment in the chat, and and that's why we are concerned. We want things to be rolled out properly. And that's why I love some of these ideas noted here, or these not ideas, but these suggestions in terms of distance. Here we have 500 feet from a school, 500 feet from a community facility. These are all things that were discussed and have been discussed continuously as the Office of Cannabis Management is trying to figure out, as Miriam said, how we're going to roll this out smoothly so that we aren't generating bad blood and creating problems in communities, because this is supposed to help and support our communities and make them better, not hurt them. And so, once again, we're looking at adopting these things. And once we make those changes, we'll share them again to make sure that our community members are good with what we are proposing. So I'm going to stop sharing it for a moment, and let me just go back to the agenda for a second. Now, this is always the problem when I jump out of stuff. Did I stop sharing? Okay. When I jump out of stuff,
Good.
I have to locate it again. So I'll share the agenda again. And I think, Miriam, if you will grant me some flexibility. We talked about SLAP, and we'll hold off for a minute talking about the community event, and because City College is supposed to join us. Do we want to go to actually, he's not on here, but Ken is on here.
Exactly. I was going to say, I see Ken, and I don't want to keep Ken on here all night, but we do
I
have that
appreciate it.
cautionary letter. So, we're a task force. We can jump around.
So then let me stop sharing and let Ken speak. And only because we talked about
It's a lawsuit now.
in the community, right? About having these dispensaries come into our community, and now we're talking about 125th Street. So Ken, why don't you talk about the article you shared with us today, and I'll send to those everyone who's on this meeting and anything else to give us some updates.
Yeah. So Ken Miles, and I'm just speaking as a member of CB9 and as a result, someone who serves on the 125th Street Bid Advisory Board in their capacity on CB9. The community boards on the bid are non-voting members of the advisory board, but it's important to kind of contextualize some of the perspectives that get shared through the bid, that especially on this fast moving topic of the 125th Street dispensary in particular, as well as just what's been going on in response to incidents happening at dispensaries across the community. I guess, yeah. So, I mean, this morning received an email that referenced the New York Times write-up on a lawsuit that is, being positioned to really try to add some understanding to how the decision-making happens in response to the legal dispensaries that are being approved across the city by New York State, and specifically by the holding entity that helps grant those dispensary approvals and sign off on the dispensaries that do come. Straight up, there's just a lot of uncertainty and a bit of confusion as to what that process even is. I think it's kind of tying it into what I've heard on this call. Getting proactive is important, but also just straight up, there's a lot of blind spots with regards to how process rolls out. The state will say it's data driven, it's all this stuff, but without transparency in that process, a big sense is my understanding is kind of this lawsuit is an attempt to unearth what that actual process is in a more transparent way, so that going forward, there's a recourse, or there's an ability to kind of intercede when you have dispensaries that are located in the middle of a cultural institution, like Central Harlem, like 125th Street. And, in terms of just the suit itself, it's being brought on behalf of the bid's kind of corporate holding entity. And the they're waiting for a number to kind of see where this case falls. But really, after having the invitation, quote unquote, to meet with the governor's office and representatives, kind of a feeling has been that meeting wasn't necessarily an intentional listening meeting as much as it was just kind of come in, say something, but leave without action items. And I think, to the credit of a lot of this wild west that's rolling out, so much has to be indicated by the progress the kind of communities are making to convene folks around this issue, because it seems like the governor's office isn't necessarily making their feedback loops transparent or understood, if that makes sense, right? So I think documenting kind of the ways in which communities are trying to respond proactively, knowing that more licenses will be coming down the pipe, is important. Also, just something I learned because there was an exec meeting today, and the last one, quite honestly, was in the fall. So the community response piece comes after the kind of licensee has been identified for the space, and that hasn't, to my understanding, happened yet. So like there's a conversation about the ownership of the building and the like actual identifying the building and all of the promotion of that, or which is what a lot of this movement is around. And then in theory, like the conversations involving community boards happen after the selection process to understand the level of accountability, to understand responsiveness, to understand kind of even feedback on hours and other things like that in terms of like suggestions. Or, you know, so it's just it's like a two-step process, and there's just a lot of non-transparency around that. I know that, like, you know, sidebar, like Miriam and I have had, you know, exchanges, because there is also like the danger of the conflation of this incident around, you know, 125th with regards to location and selection, and, you know, just the cultural kind of center, which seems to be a concern that's generally shared around that. And, you know, just what's happening in other illegal cannabis locations across Harlem in particular. And so, like, you know, the danger becomes that like those two get completely conflated, and then you end up kind of not, and that's just like me as an observer just saying, like, then you end up not being able to make some of the advancements and have some of that important dialogue that needs to happen. But I will just say, yeah, the concern is there. I think, you know, I was unaware, you know, I read it in the New York Times and I shared it. So, you know, that's the executive team at the bid and at the management entity. But really it's an attempt to just say, okay, what is this process? How is it rolling out? How can we go forth and figure out kind of next steps? And so there's just a lot of things that are happening around this, and I think more folks communicating around this is important. But that is my understanding. I mean, there's a spot coming down the block from me that I shared in the chat, and I only saw it because, like, I read when new buildings, you know, when new businesses are coming to the neighborhood. But it's clear from my like understanding, just as a person who lives in a neighborhood, you know, there are certain elements that make some of these illegal dispensaries targets for robberies, and like some of that has to do with how, you know, cash is exchanged and other stuff. Like, that's just my loose understanding. But I think, you know, in relation to places of education, in relation to more broadly schools and neighborhoods and foot traffic, just, you know, we know Harlem has been a place that's been a proverbial dumping ground for kind of a myriad of reasons for different types of businesses or services without community input, and making sure that that doesn't continue into the future, I think is a proactive stance and opportunity that this all presents. So that's
Thank you.
my like 3.5 cents.
Thank
3.5.
you.
Yeah.
Listen, it's all absolutely valid. I mean, we're sharing the same concerns, and that's why we've been borderline issuing a cautionary letter to OCM, like, don't try to pull this in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like,
we all,
you can't do it.
yeah, we're working on that because of what you just said, Ken. And yeah,
And it's absolutely what you said. Communities have to get ahead of this. Community boards have to get ahead of this, and even more so, you have to work together, because if more community boards raise up the same issues, OCM has to listen. So
I have a quick question. Sorry. One, So a meeting hasn't happened yet with the governor's office. That's what I'm assuming, because I
It
know.
did, but
It's-
they weren't listening. They just kind of
Oh, it
went to
happened.
listen, but not
Okay.
to do, just to appease the bid by saying, we had a meeting with you,
So it did
but-
happen.
but there was no action. That
Wow.
was a
Yeah,
while ago,
And
right?
there was like a follow-up process and document that was shared, I know by Barbara with
Okay.
questions that, to my knowledge, have yet to be responded to. So they
Okay.
like low key, my understanding is like folks went dark.
Barbara was here our
saying.
last task force last month, and she updated us. So kudos to them. I just hope that not too many resources go into a lawsuit, because that's just, that's my thing. It's like, it's just a shame to put so much resources and time into lawsuits when this should be worked out. Like, this is just absolutely ridiculous that the Office of Cannabis Management is acting like this. And just so everyone understands, the dispensaries that we're talking about right now are Cord. There was another lawsuit brought upon by someone else, because these aren't even the 9 license types in the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act. This is a unique license type that the state decided to create. The Office of Cannabis Management decided to create an advisory board, decided to create a private funding pot of money for it, and none of it is kind of materializing. And I think Ken mentioned a lot of it. So I think I fully support what the bid is doing. It's unfortunate. It's something to watch, and
Yeah. We have to
everyone
focus
just
on it.
stay involved in
Right.
this industry, whether you consume or you don't. This is affecting every neighborhood in the state. So
One thing I'm just gonna add,
yeah,
for the
jump in.
sake of my own understanding, I also think it's important to understand that like this is a state entity, right? Like this is the governor's office. So that actually affects who's able to come to the table to be in opposition or make recommendations, right? Like there's a silent reality of, well, what does the state fund? Who might the state fund? How might that interact with? And there's like something that I think is important as a community that we understand, like, even if nothing moves, like there's power being exercised. And I just wanted to put that out there.
Right.
Thank you.
I agree. Yeah. We have power. We have to be vigilant and let people know that we're paying attention and that we have a say and we want to control what happens. And so right now, nothing's happening, I guess, because we are, thanks to Barbara and the rest of the team, they're speaking up and saying, we're watching and you're not going to steamroll us. You need to talk with us. We want to be in partnership, engage us so that this can be successful. And there's nothing wrong with that. We have the right to do that as a community. And so I thank you, Ken, for sharing that article, and we'll make sure when we follow up with everyone and well, we could try to put it in the chat. I'll see if I can copy it in.
And I just want to share,
I'll drop it in.
I
Oh,
just
you
want to
will?
share
Okay.
an insight as to, this is a concern for the guys from our community who were legacy, just so you understand. These shops have interjected their money flow also, and they don't really care who they're selling to, a lot of these shops. And I had a conversation at our event this past week with someone who's legacy from our community who's looking to cross over. And he said, I had this little kid, like 10 years old, like, he was young, come to me, like trying to get from me. And I said, absolutely not. Like, get away, like you're not doing this. And he watched the kid go straight across the street into one of those shops and purchase. So there is an absolute concern. Even the legacy guys in the community are not happy with what's going on. A lot of them, just so you know, because it is giving a very bad look to the industry, to them. There's just concern everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for that report out, Ken.
I
And
think Deborah's here.
yeah, no, Deborah is here. So
Awesome.
what I was going to say in regards to the agenda is we started talking about the event that happened on Tuesday, April 18th, instead of Thursday, 4/20 or April 20th, which is a significant day in the cannabis world. But we still had a successful event that day. I was sharing for those who just joined us that we believe we had about 150 people in attendance on a Tuesday for an event that started at 9 and concluded at, I think it was 3 or 4. So people who came stayed all day for the most part for the event, which was great. And we know that some surveys were also administered by Happy Monkey in terms of people who came, but we were also lucky enough to have people from City College come and support us in our efforts and collect data as well. And so, Deborah, I didn't go into too much detail because I knew you were going to come on, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to share some of the information in terms of feedback with those of us on the meeting. I didn't want to do it because I knew you were coming on.
And you could have, and all of that. And good evening, everyone. And thank you. And I'm sorry for not having my camera on. I'm actually running from another meeting.
Oh, okay.
That's another 420 event this weekend on Saturday in Community Board 10. So
Yes.
my apologies. But thank you again for giving us the opportunity to work with you, and we look forward to being able to work with you going forward, so that you are able to evaluate your events, have the data you need to be able to facilitate those kind of conversations, and also figure out what you want to do next steps. Yes, there was another survey going on at the same time. And generally, we like to litter the place with QR codes and have them put up in between slides so that we remind people. But even with not doing it the way that we traditionally do, we still had 17 people fill out the survey. So that, considering we didn't really get a chance to promote it very much, I thought was a good outcome. We also supplied you with the raw data so that you can manipulate it any way that you want, and also gave you a report with a breakdown by charts, looking at some very simple things like where people may have heard about the event, whether it was through your partnerships, email, social media. We looked at how people receive the panels, and it also gives you information around the types of workshops and webinars folks would like to see going forward. So I know you have a copy of the report.
Yes.
Happy
And
to
I'm
take any questions,
and I'm
feel
showing
free
it
to
now.
share it.
Yes, I'm showing it now to everybody and we'll share it. But very quickly, this pie chart here, as Deborah was mentioning, which topic from the program motivated you to attend this event? And it breaks out according to those areas that were covered. And as Deborah said, our N is a small N, but considering it was a quick turnaround, it shows that people were willing to share and support us in our efforts. And I was trying to see, okay, what cannabis topics would you like the community to address in the future? So this was something that we were very interested in knowing. And let me move this up slowly so that as we look and plan for our next event, which is on the agenda, we want to make sure that we're addressing things that are of interest And it looks like there was a wealth of topics here that people expressed wanting to know more about, with the largest numbers being legalizing and regulating cannabis at the federal level.
Mhm.
Okay. Update on state and local cannabis laws. And on the other large ones were how cannabis dispensaries impact the neighborhood, and how do I find cannabis industry jobs in New York City, are some of the topics that were expressed that people would like to hear more about. Yeah, I mean, as I said, we'll share this, but this is helpful, Miriam, for us
Mhm.
as
Yep,
we're looking to plan the next
absolutely.
event in the summer. Let me see, was there anything else here? Do you have any suggestions on how to make the next event better?
Yes, I thought that was very interesting. Invite high school, college level to learn about it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So if you
Yeah,
just,
photo booth to promote event on social media. Let's
uh-huh.
do an event in Westchester. Huh,
Oh, wow.
we got an invitation.
Oh, yeah,
Or
I guess we got a space to go to if we decide to go up to Westchester or make that something to consider in the future. But no, this is good and
no, this is great.
for us to use.
What I also thought was interesting, part of the reason, for those that do not know who Happy Monkey is, they are legacy guys from Community Board 9. These are these are guys, they're adults now, but these are guys who started dealing marijuana when they were teenagers. Vladimir and Ramon, they were like grew up in our neighborhood. I won't say exactly where, but they're from our neighborhood, and they've both served time for marijuana. And at one point, I think in 2018, they actually launched an entertainment company and consumption lounge. And now they're actually they're actually applying to cross over into the legal space, and they have a huge following and credibility because they've pivoted. And they approached us initially to do something under the aqueduct, and the nobody in the community was too behind it for all the reasons. They knew it was going to be a 420 smoke fest, and it ended up in Columbia. And the last panel was them sharing their story, which I thought was really powerful and very validating what it means to a lot of the people who were impacted by the war on drugs, and why it's important to get ahead of this, and why we created this task force to begin with. And we took a chance partnering with a legacy operator. No other community board had done that. It was kind of interesting, right, Monique?
It sure was. But it was.
But the outreach was incredible. We knew
Wow.
that as a community board, we did not have the reach that they had. We got incredible press for this event, and we got 150 people there. And the survey actually validated that a lot of the outreach was people found out about this because of Happy Monkey.
Right. Daria, do you want to add anything since you had the opportunity to join us?
Yes.
I think you guys really are hitting all the key points. I think what Miriam was saying in terms of no other community board has done that. I am so proud to be a part of this community and how we end up being front runners in so many on so many fronts, and this is another one of those. I really, really look forward to the next thing, and the fact, just us putting on something with legacy operators. And it wasn't a one-off. It wasn't just a, hey, we're having a party, hey, we're having this thing. It was, us really taking this responsibility that we've been given to help. I don't know if you can rectify, the harm that has been done, but we are really getting out here and flying the plane as we're building. And, you know, sometime we're just gung ho and doing it, and sometime we're tired and we're complaining about it. And then sometime it's like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? But the forum was incredible. The amount of knowledge, and then the vendors. Can we just talk about the vendors
Yeah.
for 1 second?
Yes.
Because, you know, a lot of times when you go to anything, the vendors, you know, they're just standing over there at tables, and you never know what it is. But when I got to sit and hear the amazing panels, and then just I'm going to do just a walk through the vendors like I do every other place, just like, oh, I'm gonna do this walkthrough. And it turned out to be another wealth of knowledge. And Miriam, is it okay for me to bring up some of the people that I met there? I've been fussing at Miriam, but not for fussing at her, but not fussing at her, because Miriam knows absolutely everybody. But Miriam is, you know, her integrity level is such that she would rather err on the side of us not having contact with some of these fabulous people because she also might have some business dealings with them. So thankfully I did walk through there. There was the only female owned dispensary was there, which was amazing. And it's like, you just want to have a whole nother forum just with the people that I met at the tables. Here's a thing that I need to bring up, and I'm not sure if it was on the agenda. I was looking, but I'm gonna bring it up right now. A lot of these people that Miriam knows, we need to like literally make a list and start going down. One of the things that I found where there is a hole that we need to fill, and not really a hole, it's just another thing. This is a big thing. We can't hit everything at the same time. But one of the things that I hope that we can spend some time on is medicinal, because this is a medicinal plant, A, and B, in New York, although it's been legal medicinally for a few years, even I, who am supposed to, I'm on this committee, I make it my business to be knowledgeable. I don't know how to get a medical.
Yeah.
It's been kept from everyone. And even now that it's legal, recreationally even, it's still being kept from everyone. And we really need to bridge that gap for our community.
Yep, I agree.
I agree. Deborah, you have your hand up.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm so glad you raised that. One of the things that the school has agreed to do is going to be running a monthly webinar series just on different aspects of cannabis, and where we're starting is around medical. We're also looking at this from a health policy perspective about how primary care and internists are trained to understand the use of cannabis, training nurses and others. So there's a whole gap around how that conversation happens and why there are more docs in some communities than there are in others. So there is a consortium from the Minority Medical Aids Association are bringing together internists, OBGYNs, and others to begin to have that conversation with BIPOC doctors.
Oh, wow.
That's great.
That's on point. So you definitely.
Right, and then we'll be able to bring it to the community once we're
Amazing.
able to pull them all together and figure out where they are, what parts of the city, map that out, and then begin to help community be able to engage in the process or
Amazing.
make the decision about what they want to do.
Oh, no, that's exciting. And
Yep,
when
yep.
is this going to start, Deborah?
So we're looking probably to start the series in July, just because graduation camp starts for folks. So we thought it would be easier to start it in July, but we'll definitely let you know. But it'll be like a Cannabis 101.
Awesome.
So looking at medical, looking at actually, we're going to do a two-part series on the impact on the body so that people really understand the cannabinoid system, the difference between CBD and THC and the combination of. We have several pharmacists that also prescribe from a wellness perspective. So yeah, and we're going to do this. We have about 10 sessions in total. So
Oh,
yeah,
Oh, that's a
That's
fabulous.
amazing.
that's
And who
amazing.
is your target? Is this open to the public, or is it open to practitioners, educators?
it's going to be open to the public.
Awesome.
But there will be some that will be specific to providers, both from a public health perspective and professional perspective.
Wonderful. Please
Wow.
keep us posted.
Because they need, they need support too.
Yep.
In figuring it out.
No,
Yep.
you're right.
But we will definitely, if you all want to be sponsors of the webinar series, we're happy to include you in that process. Not a problem. We'll share the agenda. We're just getting it approved through the medical committees to make
Okay.
sure that, again, that it's science-based, culturally competent. And we're also in the process of working on a glossary for the community to share, because not everybody knows what a terpene is. Not everybody knows what legacy
So
is.
you are aware that all the regulations come with a glossary? OCM?
But they're still above level for some.
Uh-oh.
I think she,
Deborah, you're,
did we
Nope.
lose Deborah?
I'm here.
okay.
I'm
Okay.
here. Sorry. Some of the glossaries and the words that they use are still a bit higher in ability to understand. But we're
Gotcha.
trying to break it down for some folks even a bit more simple. So
Excellent.
like when we're talking to
Wonderful.
older adults and we're talking about medicine, there's other terms
Mhm.
I'm comfortable with.
So I'm just going to share, and thank you, Daria, for calling that out, for calling me out. Just so you know, Daria, I haven't been holding back from Community Board 9. I mean, we have this task force because I've been talking cannabis since 2016. I literally rejoined Community Board 9 with that on my application in 2016 to re-educate the community on cannabis. Full disclosure, I'm a medical marijuana patient. I have spinal arthritis. I have been a patient since 2018. I also own and operate a CBD brand and business, and I have been educating in English and Spanish in all around New York, in legal and illicit and legacy spaces for many, many years. I make medicine myself, and I am part of the Office of Cannabis Management, Mentorship and Compliance initial cohort for processing. So my brand is, if I want to, I can grow to make cannabis body care products. I regularly teach at the Hort all about cannabis, terpenes, plant-based, everything, because this isn't just about one thing if you want to heal naturally. So I do a whole lot of that. Happy Monkey are friends of mine. They did come through because I invited them to come through Community Board 9. I am pushing many people to come through. I will open the floodgates, Daria. I will not hold back. It's just been tricky because it's tricky to be ethical on community boards. You can't feed yourself, and I really came on board to re-educate. We held a forum, I think in 2018. A lot of people did not attend. It was at the Sugar Hill Museum. We had, cannabis, the history, the economic opportunity, and we had medical conversations at the time. We had doctors, we had patients, people from our community. We had, did we have Etain? We might have had Etain there, believe it or not. I think Etain was represented at that time. Because again, I mean, a lot of this industry and people doing advocacy have to you have to share what you know. That's how this industry has been made. You can't keep this information, but that's just plant knowledge. You have to share it and keep it going, especially on this one, because it's deep. A lot of the cannabis stuff is deep. I hope there's a recording of the event, because the Dr. Knox conversation was phenomenal. And for those of you that don't know Dr. Knox, she does TED Talks. That's why her talk was just like mind-blowingly amazing. It was that we had that talk in our community for free was just like, wow. Because it was powerful.
It was very powerful.
Yeah,
Or-
so I won't hold back, Daria. You just tell me what you want.
Well, I just, I know that you have to walk that line in terms
Yeah,
of
it's tricky. It's
ethics, and
tricky.
I know that a lot of times that you err on the side of making sure, and sometimes it's not by not mentioning, but I told you when I met all those people who were vendors and who had all those amazing stories, like the only female owned dispensary, and so there we could have had a whole another forum.
We can still, just so you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
I
down there
think we
with
do
those
have to
people.
have a conversation. I think we absolutely need to partner with Deborah and sponsor and spread the word and be a part of their Cannabis 101, because what I'm realizing, and I say this as someone who's been in the space doing the work, talking the talk, if you're not accredited right now, people don't take you seriously.
Yeah.
And the institutions, the higher education institutions kind of need to start being the leaders of these conversations, so that people start believing this stuff, because there's so much, there's a lot of information happening from the people who just love and are passionate about this. But I think when a higher learning institution gives it, it's powerful,
Exactly. No, it does. And there's so much negativity out there because of what's happening with the illicit market. You have to take a hard pause, stop, and kind of repivot and reorient people so they don't lose sight of what is coming down the line. And so institutions like Columbia and City College, who we've been, going back and forward with for a while, because these are
This is
resources
big.
in our community. And so if they're stepping up and looking at this from that perspective, we definitely want to continue partnering, bringing this to the community, because City College, like Columbia, is in our community. We want our community members to know that we're very lucky to have these resources available, and we should be taking advantage of everything that is being offered. And we want to sing it loud and put it out there so that people are aware and will come forward, and then hopefully this will help to turn things around. So
Let me ask you
that was
something.
great. Oh,
Let me just put this out there. So their cannabis series is going to be in the summer. It's going to be in July, and we have to spend money on an event. We
Right.
have to create an event, and remember, we don't. Community boards are off July and August. So if we do something in August, we don't have is Youtha in the summer? Like, is
Yeah,
the
she works.
office? I think the office is open, but we don't meet. So I don't know if we want to break off and do our own. Do we want, let's think about what does sponsorship actually mean, Deborah? Does it mean, what do
'Cause
you
we
need from
have no
us?
money.
Well, we
So
do. Remember, we
technically-
have $1,500 that we can ask for an event. So
Right.
we can either do a wellness, and this is on our agenda. I'm sorry for jumping ahead, but I
No,
feel
no,
like
that's
we're
fine.
flowing, like we're
It's
flowing in that direction.
organic and it's good. Organic conversation.
Because I think what City College is going to do is going to be phenomenal. Like, it's going to be amazing. They don't need anything from us. Like, we just need to promote the heck out of it and get it on the kiosk and like get
Right.
the word out.
And be a partner, but not necessarily a
That's
sponsor. May
correct.
I?
We don't take money from community-based
Got you.
organizations or community boards. I mean, let me just say this, the dean took money out of his own budget to support the students, to do this work.
Amazing.
Because he's so committed to this, and believes that it's important. So when we talk about partnerships, we talk about putting your logo on it, helping us
Gotcha.
get the word out,
Mhm.
talk about, the agenda. Again, we're looking at doing these at an hour clip because we believe people have like short time, and we thought like fireside chats so that we could dig
Gotcha.
deeper into these issues, like how cannabis impacts the body and what is the cannabinoid system, and knowing that we have this in our system. Like, people want to know more of those kinds
Yeah.
of details in order to then make informed decisions about legislation and health policy and all of that. So
And
for
how to
us,
get the medical card,
hmm,
how to get the card so that you can.
yeah, I mean, there's a
access to it.
huge difference
Yep.
between medical and adult recreation, and how
Yep.
do you do that, and where do you go? And very honestly, why do you have to either go to Yonkers or 58th Street to find a medical dispensary?
Well, I don't even know where any of them are, and I'm on the cannabis. I've read all the regs. I know a whole lot about cannabis, but I don't know how to get a card. I don't know where to go. I
Oh.
don't. So this is so important, Deborah. Thank you guys for this. I do want to add that to the committee. This is not only just in all the ways that we already are kind of talking about how good it would be to partner with City College. But here's the other thing. One of the important things that's happening, that we get to be the bridge for, is the fact that I always say the cannabis industry right now is like hip hop in the 90s. Hip hop in the 90s was just a bunch of artists doing their thing. A lot of them were kids figuring it out, putting it out there, and now they're legends. And many of them are legends. And this is one of those cases, and a lot of this starts on the street. So while we do need the institutions to be a part of this, so thank God they're stepping up. This comes from the streets. The people who already know how to do this we're doing it as criminals. They were the Wild West. And so we are in a unique position where we can actually, us being a partner, we can bridge the legacy community. And especially since we have that very rich and important connection with Happy Monkey. If we have Happy Monkey, then we have all, their following as well. And if we can bridge that segment of the population with CUNY, that'll be,
Wow.
that's what needs to be done. Because for CUNY, to me, for CUNY to step out there, and this is very respectfully, to step out there and we just go, oh, everything they're doing is great, which everything they're doing is great, but we don't, if we did not involve the legacy,
You won't get the outreach
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And we just start,
or credibility. A lot of this industry, you have to have credibility.
yeah.
And and you're absolutely right, Daria, like, people will question CUNY's credibility if you don't work with legacy.
Yeah.
Abs-
Well, a certain segment of the
So
city
guys,
of
let
the,
me just say this. The student population we service is from the most under-resourced zip codes in New York City. And the students who are actually working on this project, and I won't disclose who or what, are from the legacy community.
Awesome.
So we are very clear about that. And I, having worked in Harlem for all of my professional career, know better than to step in and make sure that we don't do it from across the board. It's got to be all of us lock in step. And we can't leave the most vulnerable last to the table. So
Awesome.
please understand that the school is very sensitive to that. It's the reason why we've been doing this work for the last 3 years behind the scenes and working with others to push them forward, because we don't own that space.
Right.
What we do own is wanting to make sure that BIPOC students who are in public health have an opportunity to step into this, to be subject matter experts in their own communities. And that's my goal in being able to do this.
Wonderful.
That's what the school wants.
Yay.
We're on the same page.
We're on the same
There
page.
you go.
Absolutely. So there's no, yeah. So there you go. So this is, and Darius starts a pom pom, and I'm
Love it.
There you go.
So-
Right. Because you know me, Monique, but Darius and them, they don't know me. They don't know that.
I know.
Again, I'm leaning on folks like Dr. Bob Fullylove. I'm leaning on folks who have a historical perspective in this community. And
That's
the
right.
legacy folks that we're running with are folks that I've helped put them through school so that they could get to school to have a master's.
Beautiful.
So I want them to be front and center so that y'all can latch on to them and really support them as you move forward in the process. Because that's who's going to be the ones that are going to talk about our legacy. They're the ones that are going to move the agenda when we can't do it anymore.
That's
So we
Yeah,
got
no,
it.
there
I'm
we go.
there with you.
yeah.
Yep,
And
there you
Awesome.
go. So
if we can somehow also put like a happy monkey in them, to me, even the
Happy
people-
Monkey is legacy from our neighborhood. So you can't, you know what I mean?
yes,
Involve them.
What I'm
Everyone.
yeah, exactly. What I'm saying is this is amazing, especially if you're already dealing with legacy from within. I'm trying to marry the without to the within, so we keep trying to, draw them in so that they can be, it's hard to be an outlaw all your life. It's hard to get that out of your mind. And
Yep.
so in everything we do, that's why I'm always bringing that up. So that is amazing that it's already from that side already happening. And I think that we can still bridge it so that some people who wouldn't ordinarily go, I always go back to people who wouldn't ordinarily go to a thing like this.
We'll
I
go.
want to figure out how to get them there.
well, once again, like, taking it to the streets, as they say, and working with CUNY in some way, because when Miriam and I finished, we said, once again, we want to make sure we do a lot of more promotion so that legacy will come. And if we're working with the right people to get, to get it out there, then hopefully more of them will be involved. Because
I want to bring it back to the Happy Monkey event, and the importance of community board. When we were first shared the run of show, the person who was going to open up the event, he had no real relevance in our community, but even the legacy group didn't see that. And we all instinctively immediately said, well, why doesn't Fab Five Freddy open? He's legacy from our community.
right.
And we text Daria, who's his neighbor, and we told Vlad, don't you know him? Yeah, I do actually. Like, well, call him up. And we pushed and pushed, and it just, I think that made the event even better because it flowed and it showed the possibility in the industry. you
Right.
know, of people from one neighborhood, all these different lives and stories. I mean, if you look at Fab Five Freddy's, you know, the movie, the documentary he did, I recommend everybody see the documentary because it's the story behind his brand.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
absolutely.
so
So more of those stories being brought to the table and shared as we think
the
about.
more stigma is broken.
That's right. So we will work with City College and figure out what we're going to be doing based on the feedback we got and tie into what they're doing so we can have another fabulous event. Keep
Yep.
this momentum going because, you know, that's what we need to do. So let me go back and peek. And Deborah, was there anything else you wanted to share or say?
No, but if there's anything else that we can do to help partner, we're happy to do that. We want to stay in our lane. Evaluation survey work is what we are subject matter experts in. So if there are legacy groups or associations that are in need of helping to figure out how to collect data, how to tell their story, we're happy to work with them for free. And I say that openly, honestly. I want this to be a win. So if there are folks that we can help, please feel free to send them my way, and I will be more than happy to work with them around building out their evaluation, data collection, survey information, and things like that. Because we know that that's what it's going to take for them to be able to compete with the larger entities, because that's what they have.
Right.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So we're in the middle of talking about planning for a summer event. And, you know, Miriam, I don't know if we wanted to, I mean, we can look over these notes, bullet out some things to put out there to figure out how we can plan for the summer and maybe do something, I guess, in July. Because I'm game to do that if we think that we can get keep the momentum going.
Miriam and I were talking about again back to the legacy, because I just think that's so important, as we all know it is. We're talking about when we first brought up Block Party, we were kind of walking and just brainstorming,
Yeah.
and something possibly with, because we met a legacy operator who is transitioning, and he does a block party in the summertime. And we were saying, well, why not? If a legacy definitely knows legacy, so why couldn't we do it with this annual block party that he does and have information about the cannabis industry and how to transition, and also about women, opportunity for women as well, for legacy and women in particular.
Mhm.
Was there anything else, Miriam?
So
No.
is that the same guy, Miriam, that was talking at our table?
Yep.
All right. So well, anyway, we'll talk because I recall speaking to him, and if he's doing something, then why reinvent the wheel,
Yep.
especially if it's local, and we can tie into that. And
And I think it's it's a block party. Was it on 135th Street?
I think it's I think he's on 143rd. Does he have it on his-
143rd, 143rd.
Yeah.
do we remember his name? Do we have it somewhere?
I have to look everything up. I have everything
name was-
from that day.
Carl.
Carlos.
Yeah.
Got it. So that might be something that we have, you know, are already in the works, and that'll be exciting. It's a block party, which makes it on the ground accessible and tie it in terms of the work that City College is doing. I think it's perfect.
Mhm.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me go back now.
It's 7:50.
Yeah, and
just-
so we
We're
talked
just
about
giving
this.
everyone a time check.
Nope, perfect. And here, why isn't this moving? Oh, this is
So
not-
I got to look up my notes for where I put his info.
Okay, no problem. It was mentioned, by the way, that there is an event this weekend. Deborah mentioned it, and I'll reiterate it. This weekend, community board, what is it, 10? Yes, community board 10
10.
doing an event. Higher Learning Cannabis Forum. Where's the money for cannabis? It's being held this Saturday from 11 to 3 on 120th Street. So I guess now Mount Morris Park area. Yeah. And if you're interested in attending to support our fellow community board, there's contact information here that I included on the agenda.
And I think it was also shared to everyone via, like, all the members, everyone should have received the flyer.
Right. So
I feel like
know
we got it.
I'm not able to attend. I don't know if anybody else who's on our
I
task-
think it's interesting because I think it's, you know, where's the money? It's also, you know, like, where is that fund? I think, Ken,
Yeah.
you mentioned something about it. There's supposed to be money. So yeah,
Sure.
where's the money?
Show me the money. Okay, there you go.
So what,
Go ahead.
sorry, I was skipping over, we're jumping around I was gonna ask a question about economic, when we.
Oh yeah,
went-
we jumped around. We didn't talk about the marine transfer station. So
Right.
remember, we did that very thorough resolution in
Yeah.
support of our hydroponic community grow center. Well, the executive board kiboshed it, or not kiboshed it. Barry asked us to meet with Merida and Joyce, and I'm confused. Merida, I was away this whole week and got back today. There was an email from Merida that said to look at an email, but there was nothing attached.
So I reached out to the Economic and Development Committee to say we wanted to meet with them to have this discussion. A form was sent, and I did share with you, Miriam, and you can look again. But it's a form, I guess, giving them notice that we want to, and I plan to attend their session and see if we can have a conversation around this very issue, and also share with them the letter that we drafted.
So there's an info session about the marine transfer station.
There isn't an info session so much as they're having their committee meeting, and I wanted to.
We need to present. Somebody needs to present.
Well, go
So
there.
that was an invitation to the Economic Development Committee meeting.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So
We have to go to their meeting to talk about this.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Gotcha.
But what I'm
And
gonna
there's
do, what I'm gonna do, I'll start filling it out, Miriam, and share it with you. And also what I would like to do is share the letter with them so that they can see what the intention was and why we're coming to them, and then have the conversation to see where things are, like who even has ownership of the marine transfer station. That would be good to clarify. And then just share with them that we think this is an educational opportunity that ties into some of the other things we've discussed as it relates to ancillary opportunities and cannabis, legal cannabis. So that's what that's about.
When is their meeting? Because I think,
It's
The more of us attend, the better.
yeah,
Seriously.
because I think that given the fact that they have sort of just been, they've been on their own with the marine transfer station, and God bless them, but for whatever reason, whatever has come through their committee, whatever has come to us through their committee has not ever materialized. And here's something that is happening. It's a very present situation that I think could probably get moving, but you know, sometimes I think they're kind of, I can't speak for them and we haven't been yet, but it feels a little bit like they feel like the marine transfer station is theirs.
I see.
And
Got you.
and kind of like, you know, and for us to just pop up with well, we have an idea, a good idea.
Yeah.
I think, as Miriam said, it probably will be a good thing for as many of us to show up as possible.
So
Well-
I attended, just so you all know, I attended the Economic Development Committee probably 2 or 3 years ago. I don't even know at this point, and brought up this whole idea of a hydroponic grow. Joyce was way behind it. She's always been in support of it. I don't know Merida. I don't know where Merida's at with it. And you know, Merida's into who pitches who pitches a viable project. Like, we're the community board. She's more grounded. She's like, you're not an economic development committee who's going to fund this, you know what I mean? So I don't know if they fully understand that we're just kind of suggesting,
Right.
like, we don't have backers for this. And at one point, that parcel was under Parks and Recreation years ago, the Parks Committee, because I used to co-chair the Parks Committee like 10 years ago, and that marine transfer station used to come under us.
Got it.
I don't know when and where and how it got passed into economic development, but
Yeah,
that was waterfront, that's parks.
I
Right.
think with the city, it actually still is parks, but somehow I think Merida got
I think
involved.
Barry has made it an economic development thing because that's what he thinks it is, and it's not. It's a parks parcel.
Mhm.
Because he's the one who sent us to the Economic Development Committee.
Right. Well, I will say that we're trying, I did ask.
And there's a lot of history on that parcel with We Act for environmental justice. And I know this because, as I stated, I used to co-chair parks when Brad Taylor was also the chair of that committee. And We Act at one point did pitch like a hydroponic community educational center with fishing, like it was a beautiful proposal. And the city, and this was over 10 years ago, again, this was a parks thing. I'm confused why Barry is pushing this on economic development, because economic opportunities have pitched to the board. But if we're driving the boat, this is an environmental parks thing.
Well, I asked you, Yutha, to confirm with me who has oversight of that land. So I'm gonna look to see if she got back to me, because that might help inform us in terms of like, who do we follow up with?
Literally Google Marine Transfer Station, West Harlem, and you're going to get the entire history of it. And
Yeah.
even like all the work that We Act did, because it's all online. I mean, I was blown away when I was researching it, because I knew I remembered a lot of this, but it's there.
Well,
So we asked, would they be a good entity to get involved?
I think so. I think so.
Of this proposal now, and I want to
sorry,
say,
guys, go ahead,
your
talk. I have to
original-
take a call. Go ahead,
Okay.
sorry.
to your original point, a point a few minutes ago, that this is just a suggestion, but a suggestion should be able to come from anywhere and not have to go and ask somebody else. You ask them when it goes before the board for a vote, but we have to follow protocol. But I really do think reaching out to We Act, and also I want to remind everyone, and for the point of being on record, that just, what was it, last year, the Arts and Culture Committee suggested that we needed an organization for West Harlem, an arts organization. We wrote a resolution, and now we have an arts organization for West Harlem. So it seems to me like a resolution coulda, woulda, shoulda just been in order, and then everybody could vote on it. But
Yeah.
I
Well,
guess
what
if
do-
we have to do it this way, then we should definitely find our stakeholders and take them with us.
So, the form that came, I'll write something in there, Miriam. You'll look at it and tell me if it makes sense. And if you're free, they meet on Tuesday. So the first Tuesday, so May 2nd, they'll be meeting, and they meet in person in the office, from what I understand. So I'm going to go to my day job and make myself available to join them. If you're free,
May
then
2nd,
join.
I feel like I
Join.
gotta check.
Yeah, join and be there. But I'm gonna send a resolution ahead. I know Joyce, I was witness to it when we first had discussions around it at the executive meeting back in March. And so, I'll send it again. Maybe Marita didn't hear it, but send it ahead so that they understand what our intention is. And then we'll hear, I mean, because I'm not prepared so much to make a presentation as much as to ask, what is the status of what's going on at the Marine Transfer Station? Because we have this idea that we think could be very complementary to what is already in place. So it's more of a statement than a presentation.
Yep.
And so, there you go. And then if we're gonna have a discussion, then that's different, but there's no presentation because we don't even know what's going on there. So if
Yeah.
Well, we do have a letter of support or a reso or something, so.
Well, we do, and I'll share it with them because it was.
That'll be our statement of inquiry.
That's a
Yeah.
presentation.
Oh,
That's
we
our
also
official
have to-
statement of inquiry.
Yeah, and we also have to remember that although Joyce may be on board, we don't know Marita's stance and we don't know the stance of anyone else on that particular committee. So now since if that's the protocol, I kind of don't know where we are, and I guess
Yeah.
we're asking the same question,
Yeah.
like, do we have to get their permission or something?
I don't, listen, I just think we have to go with our
Right.
letter
Right.
and get as much history as we can.
Right.
Invite
And then
any
make our case.
stakeholder, because WEAC may have been interested before, but maybe they found something out and abandoned ship. So we do have to talk with WEAC because they did have a very similar proposal on the table once upon a time. It didn't include cannabis, but it certainly included a hydroponic community educational space.
But wouldn't
Um,
that, I mean,
I think that would be
maybe we're bringing it
phenomenal.
back alive, their thing back alive, and maybe they'll be happy to hear
I mean,
it.
even if it doesn't get cannabis, if that space were created into some kind of hydroponic community learning, plant-based, I mean, my God, it could be like an extension of a school for CUNY for Columbia. Columbia's down there. Like it could be anything educational.
Because I'm tired of
I
giving
do
Columbia
too. I'm
stuff.
kind of, Columbia's not the flavor of the week after this,
They're not
after
giving
that, after that surf and turf article. Damn, it made me hungry.
Oh, did I miss?
What? Oh, what? Was that what Ken was giving? Because that I came in on the article.
There was an article, so some TikToker invaded a Columbia surf and turf event for their students, and it is scathing. It's had I don't know, millions of viewers because it was just pounds of shrimp, pounds of steak, and pounds of lobster for their students.
Oh,
And
yeah. I missed that.
it was pretty spicy. It was
They're
a
just
pretty
flaunting
spicy
their
TikTok
wealth.
review.
They didn't serve that when I was a student. I guess they've elevated whatever they're giving out because I wasn't getting that. But anyway, I don't want to digress. So,
Exactly. It's too late to talk about them.
well, then the last thing on our, you're right. The last thing on the agenda then is this. And just going back to other follow-up pending items. So you started talking about, Miriam, the cautionary letter and the letter that would also, I think they're one of the same, address the tax burden to card dispensaries. I wanted to, I know we had a discussion around that, and the cautionary letter is even more important based on what.
Did we ever do that one? I can't remember. I'm sorry,
No, we
guys.
didn't. So we have to work on that one.
Okay.
And I think
Well-
we wanted to take some of the stuff that we saw in this CB5.
And I already have the one letter started. Remember the letter that I started when we
Mhm.
were.
But that was for the
I
minutes,
think
right?
also now that this has progressed to a lawsuit, we have
Yeah.
even more language that we can include
Right.
in our letter. It doesn't even, it's a simple letter. It's like, you don't want this kind of press.
You don't want this smoke.
There you go.
Let me
You
say
don't
the
want this
title.
heat.
You don't want this heat on the smoke.
That was an excellent use of pun, by the way. Excellent.
Yeah, maybe we should call it that.
Oh,
OCM,
You don't
you
want this smoke.
don't want this smoke.
Exactly.
I think it's as simple as that. And like literally quote the New York Times article as much as humanly possible and a timeline of the events.
Yeah.
You know, that led to a lawsuit that could have been completely avoided.
Completely.
Right.
avoid it.
Transparency. You need to clear the smoke and see clearly. So there we go with the puns. All right. Well, then that's something we have to work on.
All right. So that's on you and I.
And
Yeah,
the
so-
tax burden,
right. It's the
Tax
tax burden
burden.
a part of
that's
that
something
letter?
different. That's
Right.
something completely different.
Okay.
That's a different letter.
That's an important one because this industry, you know, it's supposed to be social equity and all of this. And when you actually do the number for someone who, and forget about cord, if you're going to be a retail license applicant, or if you're looking to open a dispensary, if you're looking to become a processor, if you're looking to become a grower, if you're looking to be any of these things, you're going to have to shell out like $1 or $2 million or indebt yourself. So this is an extremely capital heavy industry to enter. And it's superly high taxed on the operators without them being able to take tax deductions, especially the retail dispensary people. So we do have to talk about the tax. I don't think it's it's a tricky one because that license type hasn't been released, or has it? Have people applied for that? Like, what's going on? Do we wait? How do we word the tax that they put on THC, which at the end falls on the sin tax. It falls on the consumer, the potency tax.
Mhm.
Oh, really?
I mean, I have to look back on, I took the classes with OCM on all of this, and it is extremely tax heavy and very scary for
And
people
tax
entering entering the space. So I don't know how this limits people entering the space from our community, but how many people are lining up to enter the space? Like I'm
But it's a catch-22. They can't enter the space because it's a tax burden, but then the tax.
it's a capital heavy. I mean, this is
Correct.
an industry, so people have to understand, you
Right.
know what I mean? It's just, how are social equity applicants going to come up with this money?
So
Right.
OCM is not doing enough to help.
No, I mean, we don't know. That's the whole thing. Like they're saying they did this compliance and mentorship program. They're going to do other programs, but what the bottom line, what people need are grants.
So Deborah's on,
Daria, you have your hand up.
but
It's
also.
for Deborah. Everybody's after Deborah. It's actually it's about this, but it made me think of something for CUNY, and in terms of not having the money to get in, and I can't remember the young woman's name who was at the forum who spoke about, we keep talking about the licenses, which are very important, but we're overlooking the lower hanging fruit, which is like a hemp license, which you can get for $350.
$500.
And okay, she said 350, and I like 350 is better than 500, whatever. But Deborah, I was wondering if that would be, if hemp is any part of you guys' program, or if there would be any possibility of adding it.
We're not opposed to having the bigger conversation. All topics are open for us to be able to have a conversation. I think the idea that we sort of looked at was coming at it from the science, because a lot of folks didn't understand the science of it, or that it is medicinal, that it's, you know, historical. But that doesn't preclude us from having workshops around how people can access whether it's from the hemp, or whether it's from non-flower activities,
Mhm.
Mhm.
like
Because
tourism.
because hemp is very historical as well. And I'm not
Mhm.
sure whether that was used medicinally, but they used
It
to make
is, so
the
you
rope.
understand, hemp, right now, the CBD industry is built off of hemp, not cannabis. In 2018, the Farm Bill legalized hemp, and all CBD that is legal is extracted from hemp. It just has 0.03% of THC. So the hemp license that they're talking about is to be able to sell CBD products, to grow CBD products, to research CBD products. Like, I have a hemp license. This became a requirement last year when the Office of Cannabis Management was established. In order for you to sell CBD products in New York State, you have to have a license. You
Okay.
have to have a hemp retailer's license or a hemp grower's license.
So it does go into
It
the
doesn't, but it doesn't do anything for you. It just makes you compliant to, it's just the state taking money for you. I'm just telling you straight up what that
The
license
vehicle
did.
for
What
getting-
that license did. It allows, like, if in theory, a legal dispensary can carry my CBD oil. And I have a license. I'm legit. My product is 100% legal in New York State. Has that increased my sales this year? No.
correct, but
Um,
hemp can do a whole lot of other things as well. So that's why
No, that's basically
hemp
to
is a
sell
lot of
legally.
things.
No, but what I'm saying, hemp, but what you're talking about is that's if you're looking at hemp, the agriculture, then you're looking at, it cleans the soil, the
I'm
using it
talking
as.
about all of it, all of hemp, and that's why I'm saying it's not just one thing. It is so many things, just like
This
you're
has all
saying.
been legal
Exactly
since
what you're saying.
well, I guess you're right, but
It's
people
been
did
legal, but
know that.
nobody know. The folks don't know. They don't know what it can do. They don't know what it entails. They don't know any of that. So that's why I was asking whether CUNY was delving into that part or not. That's what. Listen, every conversation is really like an hour conversation because it's so layered and there are so many things. It's
so
just
burgeoning. Yeah.
You know what it is? I'm not, you know what it is? This is just like normal conversation for me for the past like 20 years of my life. Like, I'm in circles where I talk about this every freaking day, and we talk about this every day, and there's education on it every day, and it's been growing. But the conversation is an agricultural conversation where a lot of innovations, because hemp and cannabis, it is separate from the cannabis conversation, kind of, sort of, but not, because it's the endocannabinoid system. The government complicated it. At the end of the day, it's one plant, but the legal one, hemp, and the way you process it and cure it, you'll get the CBD and the THCs and the other cannabinoids. Oh my Lord, you're right. We do need a conversation on hemp.
We do, based on what we heard in like Daria said, the panelists who said that's a world unto itself where there are so many possibilities.
But
That's
this is the conversation about endocannabinoids, guys, and the endocannabinoid system. It involves hemp, and then you kind of have to take it into the agri side, how the plant works and how it actually removes things from the soil and all the 1,000,001 uses for it.
yeah.
Deborah, go ahead.
Just one last thought, as you were talking about the agriculture, it dawned on me that that could be a conversation for the Pandemic Response Institute, because that could be seen as a mechanism to ensure around food insecurity. So we should have another conversation about it could still be cannibalized, but maybe there's another way around looking at somebody getting access to that and funding it.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Sorry, it just, if I didn't
What was
say
that
it right
again?
now,
Pandemic recovery
it's
response?
the Pandemic Response Institute. It's a
Okay.
partnership between Columbia University, CUNY, the Department of Health, and Emergency Management.
Mm.
And so I sit as the co-chair for the community convening. But I'm just thinking that if it's okay with you all, and this is purely like, you could say no, I would be super interested in taking this conversation to Dr. Green, who heads up the pandemic response, to see
Okay.
if that's something that they would be interested at least to explore.
I think that would be fabulous because
Yep.
once again, it broadens the conversation.
Yeah, by all
Which we
means,
need-
as if
which
we
we
need a
need to
bigger
do.
conversation, but yes,
Right.
we do.
Well, I definitely know SUNY Mooresville is definitely and doing work and has done work with hemp, the fiber, and the agricultural side. They're
Yes.
definitely doing agricultural work and the hemp side. And on another side, I mean, Daria, we can definitely bring in hemp people to talk. I can look at a lot of the speakers that did the OCM mentorship program, because some of them are the conditional cultivators, which were New York State's first hemp farmers. Alan Gandelman, he actually, the president of that whole association, is my farmer, my CBD farmer. So, and he is extremely knowledgeable on that. There's more excitement, to be honest with you. There's more innovation. I mean, there's innovation in every part of this plant, but if you look at this plant for the fiber, environmentally, it is just,
Probably
it
phenomenal.
needs more attention because
Yeah.
it could replace plastic. The beauty industry, for instance, and the fashion industry is looking at hemp fiber, fabrics, all of this. They're just a little rough on the skin, but there's so much innovation there. And you're right, that needs more light, because that is a whole other industry that is not federally as prohibited.
Yeah.
If you're working with hemp biomass.
So that
And
could
if
help
you,
environment and everything.
there
like-
you go. And if there's going to be so much cannabis in the state, there's going to be a ton of biomass, which can be turned into fibers. And that is a whole industry, and that people aren't paying attention.
So
The reuse of biomass.
that's what I was gonna ask. So you're saying hemp it's like a aftermath of processing the plant? You have that
The
stuff left over?
fibers. So when you like the stalk,
Yeah.
the stalk of the cannabis plant, of the hemp plant, whichever one you want to call, the fibers, you can make rope. It used to be the cash crop in this country. I mean, it is a very, very good crop, and it doesn't deplete the soil. It actually removes, there's something in the process, I don't know it off the top of my head, but it's actually good for the soil and for the environment, because it returns, I don't know if it's CO2, it removes CO2 from the soil, and it's just a wonderful plant to
Yeah.
farm and
It's
for
strong.
soil.
Yeah.
There you go.
All of throughout history, even when they had the giant ships and everything, all of
sails.
the ropes, the sails, all rope at one time was, and they used a lot of rope for a lot of different things, and especially in sailing, it was all made of hemp.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
It-
we know the clothing part goes back to
Yeah.
a few hundred years. I believe definitely during slavery, I think clothes were made out of hemp, and people
And
were,
what's interesting is the state, in preparation for the legal cannabis, they've kind of limited the amount of hemp that farmers can now grow.
oh, really? Why?
So they're capping it. There's movement. We definitely, you know what, it's on our agenda. We have to dig more into what's happening hemp. Because
Yeah, and
everyone's
we should also-
everyone's talking cannabis, but you're absolutely correct. There's a ton of opportunity in hemp. And if you're a CBD brand and you're legit and you have your license, your products could go into the shelves of dispensaries now.
Yeah.
I
And
know a hemp farmer based.
What, Ken?
Ken, you broke up. You said, I know a hemp farmer, and then you went away.
Oh,
in CB10, but if there's a helpful perspective on like where things stand now to make that.
oh,
He's cutting up.
No, that's it. It's just that I know a hemp farmer who lives in CB10. So if it's helpful I can reach out. We haven't spoken in a while, but
Awesome. Yeah.
since
Yeah.
he's
I mean, do you guys want to have like one of our meetings that we just have talk about hemp? Yeah.
yeah, or
I would love
whether
that.
it's like just for the board or whether it's, whether it's just for the committee or whether it's more broadly.
Okay. I think
Yeah.
that's a good idea that we discuss hemp. Maybe that is actually an event that we talk about opportunities in hemp. Like I'm hearing we have to have a wellness, medicinal, that whole events, wellness, medicinal, and then hemp opportunities, hemp.
And perhaps, I mean, depending on how we do, I mean, it's
Education.
definitely an ongoing conversation,
right.
but I would love to, economic development and environment, and health, really. This is, this is one of those things that reaches,
Mhm.
a lot of other entities on the board and, just in life. Cannabis, hemp is life.
Don't forget your STEM programs. You
Yes.
got a bunch of young
Yeah,
people.
young
that
people
need
STEM.
steering towards
Yes.
STEM so that they could step into this space.
And hemp is not prohibitive for kids to be talked to or dealt with it's not prohibitive, is it?
No.
No.
I don't,
Mm-mm.
and I think even cannabis for high schools at this point, we're not, well, actually, we didn't talk about that. And that was something that was in the survey that they want education for high school students. So whatever we
Definitely.
do,
There are a couple of folks who have been approved by DOE already to do that curriculum. So I'm happy to put you in touch.
is
with
one of
folks.
them Queen Esther.
Queen Esther, yeah.
So I know her as
Mitzi.
well.
Right.
She's one of them. There's a few, but she is definitely one of them that can definitely speak to that for sure.
Okay.
Just so you know, this is one of those situations where, it sucks that I'm a community board member and I can't talk about it because I literally talk about this. I literally am at events and I speak about things like this. So I can always double duty talk about things because, this is what I do for a living.
No stuff, Miriam, shouldn't be prohibited.
I don't know. This is a question, I guess, for the board. How the heck do I talk about things? Because people tap into me to talk about these things.
Right. So, I mean, that's something we should inquire about. I think if you're providing.
And I'm a parent and I'm CC6.
I'm a little,
I wanted to, sorry, hold the authority. There were 3 committees we talked about. Daria,
economic development, environment.
And health and environment is the same committee.
Health and environment.
It's
okay,
one.
so economic development and health and environment, I guess those are the 2 committees that this cross. So
and really education.
Okay, youth and development. I mean, youth and
education.
libraries.
I have a question about, well, listen, this conversation could go on all night, but just
It's 8:25, just for reference.
Wrap up.
Hemp and the conversation about hemp and students at STEM, as Deborah brought up. Yes, but I just don't understand because we wouldn't be teaching kids about cigarettes. So, I I don't know about the whole cannabis thing. Hemp, yes, but cannabis? Yeah.
I think where the conversation with high schools is a conversation for parents, how to talk to your kids about cannabis, how
Right.
to talk to them about safe consumption, how to kind of not have stigma around the conversation. Because I will tell you, I have an 18-year-old, I have a 12-year-old. My children have been brought up. They can explain the endocannabinoid system to you probably, because I speak to them about it. It's not taboo in my house. And thus my kids have no interest in this. So the conversations happening at high schools right now is not, it's answering questions, not so much educating. It is educating, but answering a lot of questions for parents.
But I'm looking at the,
And that's what I
But-
think that's a good idea. We need to get the parent, we need to teach the parents so they
Right.
can teach the kids. Sorry.
So-
Jen.
And parents need to
just to give
understand, and
you-
let me tell you, parents need to understand the different forms. Like parents need to be able to explain to a kid why they shouldn't have an edible and how an edible works, that it's a delayed reaction. Don't go and eat like 5 gummies because they taste good. There have been cases in District 6 where kids, high school kids, have been passed out in the halls from
Jesus.
eating gummies, from eating edibles. So these conversations have to happen because kids are learning trial by error, as opposed to like, okay, if you vape, it's the fastest acting, but shortest lasting. If you take an edible, it takes the longest, but it's going to go through your GI tract. So you don't know when it's going to hit, how long it's going to hit. If you put a drop under your tongue, it's going to go straight to your bloodstream. If you know what I mean, like these are medical conversations you have medically, medicinally about dosing that parents need to understand to be able to have with their kids.
Well, I mean, so many
So
things.
it's complicated.
No, but I was saying so many things came up in terms of possibilities and as we think about having another event. So I guess we should think about how we should maybe try to focus on 1 or 2 things so that we can perhaps do them well. And
Remember, next year we can plan, we have the summer off, that we can literally plan conversations for the next year. I think
and a
we
series.
might have missed the
series.
boat for an education conversation at the end of the year. And I will tell you this as a parent advocate, someone who's worked on CC, you cannot reach parents in June, July. They are very busy. They have graduations, they have end of school. It is crazy cakes in the schools to get a parent's attention in the month of June. But in September, back to school, they are looking for information. They will take what you give them. So a
that's-
back to school conversation would be phenomenal to plan education for parents, what that looks like, what it looks like for high school students, what it looks like for middle school students. Because let me tell you, I've spoken with Hamilton Grange in our neighborhood. I'm good friends with the principal there. He needs a conversation with the students because they're vaping in the bathrooms.
Oh, Lord.
So we do have to think about all of this. It is delicate, but it has to happen.
I agree. So we can
I don't
even
think
figure out.
that's our job. But go ahead.
It's not, no, it's the Department of Health. Again, we can
Yeah, I
reach
think
out to
it's
the
more us.
Department of Health, but you got to understand, I was on the health committee. The Department of Health is reactive. They're not proactive, and cannabis requires proactive, we got to get ahead of it.
Right.
Our city agencies are reactive. I specifically asked the Department of Health, what were their plans for cannabis education? I mean, a while back, well, we're reactive, and you just have to look at their budgets. The city didn't allot any funding for cannabis re-education. It's very small. So what does that say? We have to look at stakeholders if we want this to happen. CUNY, Columbia, legacy operators, organizations, we have to kind of coordinate if we want this to happen in our community, bottom line.
I know, so I agree.
And
with you.
Dashida Dawson, the New York City,
That's right.
we can call her up and
Bizarre. Cannabis are, right?
the cannabis czar. This falls on her. They're actually working with the Department of Education to roll this out. But again, if we push, we'll be the first ones to roll it out.
Mhm.
So we should try to do that because
Deborah, could you share
that
your
out
doc
there.
in the, sorry, just turning. Could you
Okay.
share your doc in the chat, or is it something that has to be emailed? The doc, that survey?
Just the report.
Yeah.
Yeah, Monique, can you send it? I'm still sitting
We
in
can
my
share
car.
via
That's-
email, Daria. We have it via email. We can
Yeah.
forward it to
I'll share it with
the full
everybody.
share.
Don't
Thank
worry.
Just share it with
Sorry,
the full board.
I'm sitting,
Yes.
I'm sitting on my phone in my car talking to you.
Oh my
Otherwise, I
God.
would gladly forward it to you.
It's 8:30, so let's
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
Deborah out of her car.
Well, I think that we came up with a lot of wonderful ideas. I'm all hyped up, and we should get a crack-a-lacking, as I like to say. So I think we could definitely do something for July. Let's talk that through further as a follow-up to what we did with Columbia, and then also we can work on an event for back to school, so we can educate our young folk and
Yep.
see what that looks like. And I think that's a nice way to end our meeting. And Miriam, do you want to add anything?
No, I mean, I think this was great. I've taken as many notes as I can. I'm not being as detailed as our last minutes. Per Barry, just put top line, but I captured a lot of the good stuff. We really should consider what next year looks like for the committee, what we want to tackle, what events, because we do break. We have two more meetings.
Yeah.
And then we got quite a few action items, letters and, planning, getting approved for our July event, but already start thinking about next year, so that we get ahead of it and we're not so behind, every meeting doing things.
Trying to catch up. Yeah, we want to be
Yeah.
ahead so we can promote and get more people to come and join us, so that we are doing our due diligence in terms of educating. And I see workforce development, which maybe is tying into that hemp discussion too. So as we plan our next event, talking about
No,
cannabis.
Monique, actually, the workforce development was that whole conversation about STEM and students and getting them into science so that, again, they could step into this cannabis environment. And again, it's our BIPOC students.
Thank
So
you,
that's
Deborah.
where my head was going around STEM and pushing them to step into those environments.
See, okay,
Amazing.
the possibilities. So, yep. Thank you, Deborah, for clarifying. And yeah,
Motion to end this meeting.
yes. So second. So we're ending the meeting at 8:33.
8:30, 8:34 p.m.
Okay. And
Monique, you and
Carlton,
I will touch
Carlton, sorry.
base.
Thank you for hanging in there with us.
Thank you, Ken, for joining us.
And Ken. And yeah, thank you, Ken, for sharing, keeping us posted, and connecting us potentially with your buddy, the hemp farmer.
Will
Yep.
do.
I have a hemp farmer friend too. Everybody has a farmer friend. We should bring
Yeah.
her on.
I love New York now. We all got farmer friends. We all got every kind of friends, and no one has to hide it anymore.
That's so
I love
funny.
it.
All right, everyone.
No, but we should actually do, when we do bring in, we should make sure that we bring BIPOC farmers. And there are some amazing farmers
gonna
right
stop
now,
recording.
and
Okay.
women. Like I'm excited for this panel. Let me shut up because we closed.